So I was a lonely kid. We moved to a new estate. I didn't know anybody, and it seemed to me that I spent weeks wandering around this building site, developing housing estate by myself. And then one day I looked through a gate into a backyard, and I saw this gang of wild kids in there, and I sneaked in, and I just spontaneously joined in with what they were doing. And what they were doing was they were building a Lancaster bomber out of old bins, ladders, clothes maidens, this kind of stuff, dragging all these things together, bits of old pipe, and making a Lancaster bomber. And once this aeroplane was completed, as far as we were concerned, we all climbed into the aeroplane and we flew. There was never any doubt in our minds that we were flying. We took off. We went down the runway and we took off, and we flew over the rooftops of the city in a Lancaster bomber. And then in the kind of development of the play, when I knew straight away it was going to be set in the futurist, and I knew it was going to tell stories from my own childhood about these children that I knew. Every character in the play is based on one of those kids that were in that backyard building that aeroplane, and they were people that I knew into my teens, really, and then we all went our separate ways. The significance of the cinema and bringing those people together into a cinema, the kind of cinema where we and where the characters used to bunk into when they were kids, and when we got a bit older, we'd bunk into the cinema to watch X-rated films, bunk in through the fire doors, and they do that in the play. And when they're in the play, they go in, and one of the films they fall in love with is A Matter of Life and Death. I think it was A Matter of Life and Death. It's one of those kind of things that just comes together for, it's not rationally thought through. It just suggested itself as the film that they are kind of obsessed with in the play. But it does connect with the fact that the aeroplane that David Niven is crashing in at the very beginning of the film is a Lancaster bomber. So the threads are sewn together. The childhood characters building a Lancaster bomber, David Niven in a crashing Lancaster bomber, a derelict cinema, a cinema that probably once showed A Matter of Life and Death. The sheer magical beauty of A Matter of Life and Death, the kind of world that we tried to create in the play, which is like magical and cinematic in its own way. All these kind of different threads are coming together in some kind of like mosaic, I guess, or a kind of prismatic montage, of images and atmospheres and moods.
Because that dreamlike quality of, it's not just A Matter of Life and Death. But quite a few of Paul Pressburger's films have that dreamlike quality, don't they? And they'd sort of take you into a kind of technical dream in that, and you can see that in Bright Phoenix as well. It sort of shares that kind of the dream of childhood, really, and where it went, and it plays out in front of you.
Yeah, well, there's a kind of like there's an element of A Matter of Life and Death, which is really about childhood innocence, isn't it? When the David Niven character bails out of his burning aeroplane and he's washed up on the beach, and the first person he encounters is a child, is a naked child, and it's kind of like Eden, in a way, and that's kind of, I think, represents innocence, and the children in Bright Phoenix, they're wild and feral, I don't know, but they're innocent too, and it's like this kind of celebration of the joy of play, of playfulness and adventure. And I think that the way that the play kind of was presented, it was presented as a hallucination, and without overthinking it, the connection between the two. A Matter of Life and Death is a hallucination. It's the hallucination that the David Niven character is having because of the brain damage that he suffered. This near-death experience, some kind of magical power. He escapes death. So I find it really hard. I do actually find it hard to kind of rationally explain, but you kind of know the more that you look at Bright Phoenix and the more that you read it, the more that you notice that it's almost like these invisible threads that connect the ideas and the images together, and it just kind of seemed to it's the only film that we could that could have been in the play, when the children reenact the opening scenes of the film. That's a complete kind of time slip, Those children in the 1960s would not have gone to see that film in the cinema. The film was released in the 1940s, but in the magical world of the play and in that hallucinatory state, it's possible, particularly in a derelict cinema.
And that's so true of so many, not just A Matter of Life and Death, but I can also think of The Red Shoes, which is more like a nightmare, I suppose, or Black Narcissus, that dreamlike melodrama of Powell and Pressburger, the kind of specialty, almost say it's okay to not have to make rational sense of something, just to go on the ride, and it pervades Bright Phoenix from seeing that, that not only is A Matter of Life and Death featured in the play, but within the fabric of the play itself, we're taken on that journey.
I mean, if you look at A Matter of Life and Death on a purely, if you try and find a purely rational description of it, it's about on its most fundamental level, it's actually a kind of coded story about the relationship between Britain and America, and ultimately its message is about connection,